Precious Hearts Romances. Paraiso by Martha Cecilia. Copyright 2005 by Precious Pages Corporation. Narrated by Maria Jasmine C. Sanchez. Chapter 24. Nasa hagdan pa lang si Adrian nang matanaw sa itaas ng veranda sina Manang Selma at Yaya Henny. Nakabalatay ang pagkagulumihanan sa mga muka ng dalawang babae. Ano ang nangyari? Magkapanabay na bungad ng mga ito nang makapanhik siya sa veranda at buhat-buhat si Michelle. Hindi ko rin alam. Balikan mo si Catherine, Henny, at baka magising. Manang Selma, magtimpla kayo ng mainit na gatas at dalhin ninyo sa silid ko. Mabilis na bumalik sa silid ng bata si Henny at si Selma naman ay tinungo ang hagdan pababa sa kusina. Dinala niya si Michelle sa loob ng silid niya. Tinimpla ang tubig sa bathtub habang hawak ito sa baywang ay nanatili itong nakasubsob sa dibdib niya. Huminto na ito sa pag-iyak, subalit nararamdaman pa rin ni Adrian ang panginginig ng katawan nito. At habang nagpupuno ang bathtub, ay hinubad niya ang kasuotan nito. Sandali lang itong natilihan na maramdaman ang ginagawa niya, subalit hindi ito kumibo. Nang mapuno ang bathtub, ay binuhat niya itong muli at dahan-dahang inilubog sa tubig. Michelle was shivering. From cold or from fear? He didn't know. Amoy usok ito at may mga itim na tila abo sa muka at braso nito. May bahagi ng buhok nito ang tila dinaanan ng apoy. She had bruises in her hands. Ang mga gasgas ay mahaba at may kasamang dugo. It's all right, honey. Bulong niya habang nakalubog ito sa tubig. Kumuha siya ng shampoo sa ulunan nito at inilagay sa palad niya. At matapos basain ang buhok ni Michelle, ay inilagay yon doon, lathering her hair. Then he reached for the telephone shower and washed her mane. Kinuha ni Adrian ang foam at inulubog sa tub na puno ng bula at dahan-dahang ipinahid sa mukha nito pababa sa mga bahagi ng katawang may bakas ng itim. Tumayo siya nang biglang tumaas ang kamay ni Michelle at inihawak sa braso niya. Don't leave me. Hindi kita iiwan, pangako. Kukunin ko lang ang towel robe. Inabot ni Adrian ang towel robe na nakasabit sa stainless hook. Itinayo mula sa tub si Michelle at ipinasuot dito ang malaking robe niya. The robe swallowed her slender body. Muli ay binuhat niya ito pabalik sa silid niya at maingat na inilapag sa kama. Nakita na niya ang baso ng gatas sa side table. Kinuha niya yon at ipinainom dito. Take this, sweetheart. Meekly, Michelle obeyed. Napangalahati nito ang gatas bago inayawan. Pagkatapos ay muli itong bumalik sa pagkakahiga. She curled herself in a fetus-like position. Can you tell me what happened, Mitch? Adrian asked gently, watching her facial expression so very carefully. Kung ano-anong pangyayari ang kanina pa nagsasalimbayan sa isip niya nang buhatin niya ito palabas ng kotse. One of them was that she had been attacked. Tiniyak na niya sa sariling hindi makakalabas ng sosogon ang sino mang gumawa niyon kay Michelle. Pero nang suriin niya ang suot nito ay inalis niya ang posibilidad na yon. Maliban sa puno ng buhangin ay walang punit ang pajamas nito, ni walang nawalang botones. And she still had her panties. Siya na lang ang nagalis niyon nang ilubog niya ito sa tubig. Mas ang posibilidad na may kinalaman ang apoy sa nangyari dito. Nagmulat ito ng mga mata subalit nakatitig sa kawalan. Nagising ako, nasusunog ang cottage ko. Her voice was thick and on the edge of sleep and exhaustion. What? His cell phone rang. His eyes were on Michelle and reluctantly took it off of her. Alanganing dinampot niya ang teleponong nasa ibabaw ng bureau. Hello. Sagot niya at muling sinulya pa ng dalaga na muling ipinikit ang mga mata at ipinagsiklop sa katawan ang bathrobe niya. It was Norian on the other line. Tila kagigising lang nito at sinabi sa kanya ang nangyari sa resort. Walang ibang nadamay na cottage, Adrian. Nagtulong-tulong ang mga tao sa pagbuhos sa tubig. Unti-unting nagbago ang anyo niya. The muscles in his jaw flexed. His eyes turned dangerously dark. Don't call Virgilio. I don't want to worry him and Celestina. I will tell them tomorrow. I am worried about Michelle. People said she drove her car. Michelle is all right. Agap niya sa sinasabi nito. She is safe. She seemed to have escaped the fire. He gritted his teeth. Nagpupuyos ang dibdib niya sa galit. I haven't talked to her, but whoever is responsible for this, I will get the son of a bitch. Then he turned his unit off and put it back on bureau. Nang muli niyang lingunin si Michelle ay tulog na ito. Her breathing was even. Poor baby. Adrian stood there and watched her quietly. Kani-kanina lang ay nakaguhit sa mukha nito ang matinding sindak at takot. But now, it was as if she hadn't been in that fire. She looked serene and peaceful. Hindi niya maipaliwanag ang damdaming nararamdaman nang sa kanya tumakbo si Michelle. She could have gone to Virgilio. Halos magkapareho lang ng distansya ang bahay asyenda at ang bahay niya mula sa resort. Hindi pinagdudahan kahit isang sandali ni Michelle ang pagtitiwala sa kanya. May init na gumapang sa dibdib niya sa pagkakaalam na sa takot at kalituhan nito'y sa kanya nagtungo. Oh God. He would do everything in his power to protect her. He would bring down the son of a bitch who did this to her. Twice in a row. A thief and an arson. But why would someone want to hurt her? She hadn't known many people here in El Paraiso. A jealous woman? Norian? He shook his head. Norian was in love with Ansel. But what about Odette? Ang kapirasong lupain nito ay nakasanla sa kanya ng napakaraming taon na. At kung hindi dahil sa pakiusap sa kanya ni Tia Celestina, ay matagal nang dapat na narimata yun. But he had no need of those parcels of land. He had more. He could even give them an easy payment term. Ganoon na lang katindi ang pagnanais ni Odette na siya ang mapangasawa ni Norian. Nalaman lang niya kay Ansel na nagalit ng husto si Odette nang sabihin ni Norian ang nalalapit niyang pagpapakasal kay Michelle. Hindi niya gustong paniwala ang kayang gumawa ni Odette ng isang kriminal na bagay nang dahil lang sa ganoong dahilan. Nakahanda na ang kasal nilang dalawa ni Michelle sa makalawa. Kailangan makausap niya ang hepe ng pulisya sa El Paraiso bukas upang imbestigahan ang nangyaring arson. He believed it was an arson. Michelle didn't even own a match. Hindi ito nagluluto sa cottage. Grimly, Adrian turned his eyes back to her. Dapat ay pinagpilitan niya kaninang sa bahay niya ito tumuloy. But who would have thought that someone would torch her cottage? Pinatay niya ang main light at binuhay ang lampshade sa bedside. Pagkatapos ay hinubad niya ang suot na pantalong maong at nahiga sa tabi ni Michelle. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, but he doubted if he could still get asleep. It would be a long, long hours till morning. Nagising si Michelle na tila may mabigat na bagay na nakadagan sa katawan niya. Agad ang pagrehistro sa isip niya ng nangyari. Her cottage was on fire. She would burn too. Agad na nagpreno ang isip niya. She drove to Adrian's house like mad. Sa sandaling natanaw niya ito at binuhat siya palabas ng kotse niya ay saka niya binigyan laya ang takot at mga luha. And when she thought she was safe with him, she allowed her thoughts to blur everything away. She had never trusted a man like she had trusted him. Tulad sa isang musmos, ipinaubaya niya ang sarili rito. Adrian took care of her, and she was in Adrian's bedroom, on his bed. And nahinto ang dalay ng isip niya. Michelle felt Adrian's hand on her breast. Sa isang maluwag na pagkakahawak. Ang mga binti nito'y nakadantay sa mga binti niya at tila yon malalaking bakal na kumukulong sa kanya at nakakapagtakang hindi niya gustong kumawala. She realized they were both naked, except that she was covered by his robe. Pero nakahantad pa rin ang harapang bahagi ng katawan niya dahil maluwag ang roba at ang tanging nagpangyari upang huwag tuluyang mahantad ang katawan niya ay ang tali niyon sa baywang niya. Nakalilis ang roba sa bahagi ng kanang balikat ni Michelle at nararamdaman niya ang mainit na hininga ni Adrian sa likod ng balikat niya. He was asleep. Kung ang pagbabasihan ay ang pagbabataas ng dibdib nito. Unti-unti at maingat ang ginawang pagpapakawala ni Michelle sa sarili niya mula sa pagkakayakap nito. Bahagya lang itong umungol nang makakawala siya. Nilingan niya ang digital clock na nasa bedside table. It was 4:30 in the morning. Ilang sandali pa'y mamamanaag na ang araw sa likod ng mga bundok. Ibinalik niya ang paningin kay Adrian. He was on his back this time. Nakahantad sa mga mata niya ang kahubadan nito. Hindi niya mapigil ang sariling suriin at hagurin ng tingin ang kabuuan nito. Physically, he was well endowed and was a very attractive man. Matangos ang ilong nito. May labing kay sarap hagkan. The lower lip was a little fuller. Square jaw at isang bahagyang cleft sa gitna ng baba nito. He was broad-shouldered. Fine hairs were matted on his massive chest, na kung hindi mo titignan ay hindi mo mapupuna. His muscles were honed, sa tamang lugar. Her gaze moved down, past his six-pack abs, past the dark male hairs on the apex of his thighs, and down to his sex. She sucked in her breath. He wasn't aroused, and yet he was big. I am half aroused, Michelle, said Adrian in a sleepy voice, as if reading her thoughts. Hindi ko malaman kung bakit. Tinititigan mo pa lang ang katawan ko eh. Tumutugon na. Her eyes flew to his face. He was watching her intently in those hooded eyes. Kanina ka pagising? Unconsciously, ipinagsalikop niya ang roba upang takpan ang pagkakahantad ng dibdib niya, pati na rin ang ibabang bahagi niyon. Nang kumawala ka sa mga yakap ko, it suddenly felt cold. His mouth twisted in a lopsided lazy smile. Iniwas niya ang mga mata sa hubad nitong katawan. Her cheeks pinked in the pale light from the lamp. She groped for words to hide her embarrassment and came up with, Bakit ka natutulog na nakahubad? Hindi ka ba nag-aalalang masipon? He laughed, a brief bark of amusement. I always sleep in raw, Mitch, at hindi ko binalak na magsuot ng nakakaabalang damit sa aking pagtulog dahil lang katabi kita. And I have always been comfortable with my nudity. With any woman. But your eyes, as they wickedly surveyed my anatomy, made me feel like Adam after sinning. He told her thickly. Hindi siya makahagilap ng sasabihin. May ilang sandaling nakatutok ang mga mata niya sa kandungan niya. She knew Adrian was watching her, studying her, and she couldn't keep herself from blushing. He hadn't seen her naked. Oh, he stripped her off, of her sandy pajamas as he soaked her in the warm water. Pero kagabi ay hindi ngayon. Kagabi ay hindi ito nag-iisip ng anumang mali siya sa hubad niyang katawan. Or did he? A soft sigh came out of her lips as she raised her eyes to him. Thank you. His smile was gone instantly. Nakita niya sandali ang pagguhit ng galit sa mga mata nito, subalit natitiyak niyang hindi para sa kanya yon. Come here, Mitch. Mahiga ka muli dito sa tabi ko. May 1 oras pang mahigit bago sumikat ang araw. Itinuro nito ang braso upang doon siya umunan. She did without a fuss, and buried her face in his arms. Adrian twined his fingers with hers and kissed the back of her hand. Hindi na tayo makakatulog pang muli. Bakit hindi mo sabihin sa akin na nangyari? I don't want to remember the horror of what happened tonight, Adrian. Maybe tomorrow, mamaya. Pero ayokong isipin ngayon yun. She felt him nod his head, then saw it. Pinakawalan niya ang kamay niyang hawak nito at iniyakap dito. Then softly, tulad sa dampi ng isang paru-paro sa talulot ng bulaklak, pinaglaro niya ang mga daliri sa dibdib nito. Sinisikap pagsalikupin ang mga pinong balahibo. What are you doing? Just touching you. Feeling you. Hinigpitan ni Adrian ang pagkakayakap kay Michelle. He was wrapping her with his powerful arms as if to protect her from any harm. Hinagkan niya ang buhok nito at nalanghap niya ang sariling shampoo. Her skin scented with his own male soap, combined with Michelle's own unique scent, filled his senses and went down to his head, hanggang sa ibabang bahagi ng katawan niya. He was rock hard. No amount of control could stop him. Hell, he said softly, raised her face with his thumb and forefinger, and kissed her. He was rewarded with a soft moan, and without conscious thought, she slid her free hand around his neck. He captured her lips in a teasing nip. Then he stroked the line between her lips with his tongue. Nararamdaman niyang banayad na inililiyad ni Michelle ang sarili patungo sa kanya at tumugon ito ng halik. Repeatedly, his tongue stroked into her mouth. Pumaloob ang kamay niya sa loob ng bathrobe na nakasuot lang subalit wala naman talagang tinakpan dahil napakaluwag niyon. He groaned as his hand found softly and silky flesh. Adrian wrapped his hand around her hips and pressed it against his hardness. Flesh against flesh. Michelle gasped in his mouth as she felt his maleness poking her thighs. Then his clever hand found one breast and cupped it, kneaded it. He caught one nipple and rolled it until the nub felt engorged. Then he cupped each breast in turn, teasing her nipples until they ached. Then his hand went down to her stomach, past the soft curls and down to the V of her thighs. She was wet with desire, aching with need. She shifted her legs. Idinantay iyon sa kanya at sa waray ibinigay nito kay Adrian ang pagkakataong angkinin nito. In a blink, he was on top of her, and his sex was on the portal of her womanhood. Innocently, she raised her body to his. Pinakawalan niya ang mga labi nito at tinitigan. Are you sure, Michelle? He asked gruffly, and cursed himself at the same time why he had to ask. For if Michelle said no, he would die. But Michelle was vulnerable right now. She needed him to make her feel she was alive. To make her feel she survived the fire. But she didn't say no. Sa halip ay itinaas nito ang mga kamay sa ulo niya. tangled her fingers in the silk of his hair, and arched her body to his. Tuluyang nawala ng kontrol si Adrian. Muli niyang inangkin ang mga labi nito sa isang nagbabagang halik. She kissed him back. After a few moments of frantic mating of the tongues, he bent and caught one nipple and sucked it not too gently. She cried out as pleasure pain shot from her breast down to her groin. He was huge, steel hard, at masasaktan si Michelle, pero wala siyang magagawa roon. It had to be done. Darling, it's going to hurt you. I will try to be gentle. Shh. Nakulong sa mga labi nito ang sasabihin niya. Instinctively, she wrapped her legs around him. That did it. He roughly cupped her behind and pushed hard into her wetness and past the tight barrier that hurt him too. His kiss muffled her cries as he pushed farther and all the way to the hilt. And it felt like homecoming. Michelle felt as if her body was stretched beyond limit. He was spinning her on the soft mattress. His mouth was on hers, and his one arm wrapped around her as his huge sex thrust deeply and stayed there unmoving. Get used to it, honey. His breath panting between his parted as he stared at her. Hindi makuhang gumalaw ni Michelle. The feel of him inside her was too sharp and intense. As she met his gaze, she was mesmerized by the tension on his face. Then his hand went down to the middle of their joined bodies and touched her, caressed her, so skillfully that pleasure overrode the sharp pain. She raised her body as waves of sensation consumed her. He withdrew and pushed back and withdrew. Then he would stop and just linger and kissed her neck, her throat, and caressed her there. And Adrian would start again the dance rhythm that was as old as time. The pain and the ecstasy. And then, through skill and adeptness, coupled with gentleness and patience, her body reached and stretched toward climax. Hinayaan muna siya ni Adrian na damhin niya ang munting kamatayang iyon bago nito ibinuhos ang sariling binhi sa kanya, groaning triumphantly.
My precious heart stays true.